episode 1 of the Genealogy of Your Voice. I'm so excited to be here. And this really is a spirit led series. And I'm excited to share it with you. And also, my hope and prayer is that it gives life and voice to your own lived experience, the genealogy of your voice. Because sometimes, a lot of times, we're told what's appropriate to speak and what's appropriate to teach. And I'm realizing in my life and career that there's so much wisdom that's not being accessed because our voice has not truly been given a lane because we haven't created the lane. And so, yeah, so that's why I'm here. So, hey, y'all. So let's get started. There's been a yearning in my soul, in my spirit, that took a long time for me to actually be able to name. When you finally figure out how to name that thing inside of you that needs to be birthed, that needs to come out, that needs freedom, and then to realize that somebody else needs to hear that and they've been waiting for you to say that thing you're afraid to say. So there's more excitement. There's nervous because this comes from a very vulnerable place. This comes from spaces that I've only talked about privately, sometimes only to myself. But I began to give this part of the conversation light. I think I gave it light in my doctoral program, which is why it was a gift. When you get a DMA, which is a Doctor of Musical Arts, you are intending to apply for voice performance, tenure track roles, and that's what you are intending to do. Pour yourself into that. And yet here I am. So, but I think that my doctoral capstone needed to be birthed. And so this would only come alive doing the doctoral work that I did. So it's amazing how all of this has unfolded. So I want to get into the topic for today, which is the inheritance of noise, and give you some context in what that really is in my mind. First, I want to set the tone for the space, and I want to just say this is unscripted, it's unrehearsed, and it is very much so spirit-led. So I have a plan. I have a generalized plan, but that plan might change. So I encourage you to continue to talk to me because ultimately I want this to be a conversation, one that you will help to shape and unfold as time goes on. So when you feel led to say anything at all, please say it. I wanted to also come up with like a space motto, which is, it's really as a reminder for myself. And I hope that it resonates with you. So the first thing is, and this is inspired by a video that I absolutely love. And I actually came across this video as a music educator, and it is a video called Music as a Language by Victor Wooten, who was one of the greatest bassists alive. So it's on YouTube. So when you get a chance, I encourage you to go watch it. But anyway, a few things that I got from what he said, it's like when somebody speaks something that you haven't heard, but that you feel so deeply. So this is as a reminder for myself and for this space. We smile at mistakes. We choose play over practice, and we use our voice to share love and truth. So I need to settle in that as I go. All right, so let's move into our topic of the inheritance of noise. So first of all, I love music, I love words, I love language, and I love truth, honesty, vulnerability, all of those things. And I think my experience as a vocalist, as an educator, as a voice educator, I didn't realize how much into language I would get, but I have learned a lot about myself with the power of words and meaning. And so I wanted to start this conversation with a few definitions. I'm not going to get too academic on you, But I think it is important to give a baseline definition for some things that we'll be talking about. So, the first definition I wanted to offer and to give you was genealogy. So, genealogy is just an account of descent of a person, family, or group from an ancestor. So, it is what's been passed down, essentially. Voice is a sound produced by vocal organs, speech, singing, or, and this is what I love because this is just a baseline for communication. And these definitions came from Merriam-Webster. So voice is also an instrument or medium of expression. That's the one I want to focus on. An instrument or medium of expression. The third definition I wanted to offer is inheritance. So something that's received from an ancestor or from the past. You received it. It came with you. And then finally, the fourth definition I want to offer is noise, which is the topic of our conversation today, which is the irregular sound that disrupts or carries no clear signal. Irregular sound that disrupts or carries no clear signal. Let that settle for just a second. I don't want to interpret that for you. Irregular and disrupts. Okay, so let's give some background as to why I'm even talking about noise. So I was considered the noisemaker of my family. Growing up, I just had noises, sounds, noises, no clear language, syllables, random noises. All day, every day, might I add. And over time, those noises, yes, they become language. But for a long time, for me, there was language along with noise. And over time, more exposure to life, influences to the world, the noises started to become more and more faint. So what started as baby babble, my mom, she once told me that I was singing before I was speaking. So what I heard in like choir rehearsals and crawling under the pews of the church, and, I mimicked what I experienced and what I heard. And oftentimes it was not what we would understand English language to be. So it started as irregular sound that came from noisemakers before me. I'm sure I heard my mom in the womb. She tells a story about how my aunt and my mom were riding in the car, and I was in the car seat, in the back seat, and they're singing like oftentimes they are. And it was a duet until it wasn't. And they heard the third part in the back seat. According to my mom, I may not have even been 2. And one day I have an audio recording, and I'm going to figure out this content thing because I think it's powerful for you to actually hear it. There's a recording of my mom singing I grew up Adventist, so if I say Sabbath school, anyways, this equivalent of Sunday school. So it's Bible study for children at church. There's a song that I learned in Sabbath school called "The Missionary Boat is Coming," and my mom is singing the song. And in that recording, I start to sing what we know as the pedal tone or the bass line. So my mom is singing, "The missionary boat is coming," and I'm singing, "The missionary boat is coming, it's coming." It's clear that I'm not old enough to fully have developed language for myself. How else would I be able to do that if it didn't come before I came? So a lot of these sounds that we get, we inherited. Well, where did they go? Are they still around? Do we go back in time and remember those? How does it influence how we speak, how we feel, how we think, how we express ourselves, how we connect with people, how we create? And what happens to that when we begin to also accept other influences that encourage us to be more poised, to be less disruptive for the sake of being clear? Interesting. What does that do to our voice, our language? So we kind of have the definition of noise, and now we kind of have a background of why I'm talking about noise and the power of noise, the need for noise, because noise is, it's the sound we made before there were rules. It's the beginning of language. If you think about, I'm referencing this video that I really, really, really hope that you watch by Victor Wooten, who talks about music as a language. And he shares the parallels of learning the English language to also learning the language of music, expressing that music is also a language. And whether you're a singer or a speaker, you guys, like I'm not just talking to singers, because speaking is a language. It's a mode of expression. This is all we're talking about. When I speak about your voice, I'm going to go back to the definition: an instrument or medium of expression. That is what I'm speaking to. So I'm not just talking to singers. I'm not just talking to speakers, to teachers, to players, trumpet play. I'm speaking to anyone who has an instrument or medium of expression and uses it in that way. So I hope this makes sense. So going back to noise and where noise began and what it develops into. So noise is where language begins. When we learn the English language, we don't learn the English language with a book. Don't learn the English language by learning how to write it first. We don't learn the English language by tracing the alphabets first. How do we learn the English language first? Gibberish, babble, noise, goo goo, gaga. And it's the only way. And what happens when that occurs, when you encounter a baby that's just making noises? Your immediate expression is what? Smiles, just because the child is making a sound. It's excitement. It's exciting. Somehow later in life, though, that level of play is appropriate for a baby, for a child. But in adulthood, do we encourage that same type of intuitive play? From my life, my training, not as much. No. When we become adults, the noise is chaotic. It's too disruptive. It's not poised enough. It's not eloquent enough. And so it turns into stripping us away from our natural gifting, our natural voice, because we're so sexual about it. Like, even as I'm talking to you, it's been so ingrained in me, child. I'm trying to think about what are the right words to say. That's my go-to. That's my go-to. When my go-to in this setting is to play around with words. Is this making sense to you? Is it not making sense to you? I don't understand what you said. I want to play first, and I want to encourage you to play as well. So noise is what we need to be getting back to. Gibberish is what we need to be getting back to. Smiling when we play and we make a mistake and say, oh, I learned something from that. Noise. Be noisy. Be disruptive in your noise. It's the only way to truly get grounded, in my mind, in the truest language of your voice. And I think that is important for us to dig more soundly and ground in that. Noise includes baseline. Noise includes the sounds that you absorbed before you had language for them. So it's the music in the house, the music in the womb that you got, the tone in the space, the sounds that you heard in your environments. It also includes messages that you received that had no words. So we also heard, now these are also noises that we hear, what was safe to say, what wasn't safe to say, what got ignored, what earned attention, other noises. The moment you learn to quiet some of these noises, you learn to quiet yourself. or you felt like you had to stretch to be heard, or to shrink, or to shout, or to mimic, or to survive. All of these things, yes, they're noises. They're still in your voice and they're still necessary. It's the complex expression of your voice, and they're needed. They're needed in the world. I posted something the other day, and the bottom line was add your voice. And, it's why I'm here. It's important for me to add my voice because some people out there need my voice, because this isn't something that I hear often. So we need to ground ourselves more in noises, because they are still, they're in the back. They may be in the background, but they still shape how we speak, how we sing, how we express ourselves, how we show up. And I believe that noisemakers rise up. Noisemakers rise up. And hey, Kyle, thank you. Kyle said, you're doing good work, friend. Love you, Kyle. So I want to, I don't want these to be too long, y'all, because it's early in the morning. So I just want to give you a little nugget, a nugget or two or three, and send you on your day. But as a pattern, I wanted to kind of write you a letter for each one of these to kind of send you on your way. Because one thing I noticed, I am a singer, but I am a singer of truth, of expression, of heart expression. And I'm a sucker for a good chord progression. And I'm going to just say this out loud, Kyle. Ooh, I got some beautiful makers of chord progressions on this here live, Kyle and Isaac. I also realized that words mean everything to me. Words mean everything to me. As a naturally empathetic and discerning being, I interpret words and I interpret voice. I interpret tone. I interpret body language, all as means of expression. And I'm learning how to sink more into that and ground more into that. I might be a lot for some, but I'm a necessity for others. And so I want you to also ground yourself in that power. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, noisemakers rise up. Be disruptive, honey. What did it say? Be disruptive. Be irregular. Because I'm going to be honest with you, child. I'm tired of regular degular. And I am everything but regular. You hear me? As are you. As are you. So I want to share this letter to you. And like I said, I will more than likely close my time with you with a letter. Sometimes it'll be to you, sometimes it'll be to me. Sometimes it'll be, I don't know, but today is to you. Here we go. Dear fellow noisemakers, before you learned the rules, before you got good at sounding right, you made noise, and it mattered. And it still does. You hummed without thinking. You tapped rhythms on desks. You made all types of noise. You banged on pots and pans. You spoke to yourself in tones no one taught you. That was your voice. That was music. And might I add, whether you sing or play an instrument or not, it was music. That was memory. That was inheritance. And somewhere along the way, they told you to quiet down. You're too loud. Wait until you had something. They told you to wait until you have something useful to say. They told you to practice before you played, before you sang, and even spoke. Practice before you sing. Now I'm going to take a moment and say, I am not anti-practice. Practice, so execution of something, which is what I define as practice. Execution of something repetitively, without expression, without play, does not have life. I'll leave it at that for now. Okay, so somebody told you to practice before they told you to play. They told you to use your voice only what was approved. But I'm here to tell you, fellow noisemaker, your voice, did not start in the classroom. Your voice did not start in the audition. It didn't start in the practice room. It didn't start in the studio or the office or the rehearsal or the interview. It started in the spirit. It started in your breath. It started in your play. It started in your noise. The noise you carry is not a mistake. It's not extra. It's not an empty disruption, because it might be disruptive, and let it be. We need to disrupt some things that we're just living with. So if it's a disruption, let it be. It's okay. Because it's the beginning of truth. We don't tell the truth enough, y'all. You do not have to unlearn everything. You just have to remember what you already knew. The sound that came before the silence. The knowing that came before the training. You are allowed to lead with that. You are the evidence. You're the only evidence you need. And today, you're not just adding your voice. You are reclaiming the noise. Amen and amen. Roseal, honey, honey, honey. How you doing? Kyle said, I'll never forget you performing Charles Brown's Song Without Words. Wow. In that moment, I heard your soul. I'll never forget it. Yeah. Maybe I'll share that with y'all one of these days. Y'all, me and my relationship with singing, that's a whole nother topic. A topic that the reason why I feel like we need to talk about the genealogy of your voice, my voice, is because I think like I said a few times, we need to ground ourselves in the truth of our own voices, because there is something that has been silenced that we need to awaken and that we need to return to. And I'm gonna take a quick moment to talk to my music educators. The video I referenced by Victor Wooten, I encourage you to share that with your students. If you were a music educator, I guess educator in general, because this is not just about music. This is about, because again, your voice is any instrument or mode of expression. And so I think for the next generation of leaders, we need to make sure that we are grounding them in the truth of their voice. I believe the only way to do that is we have to ground ourselves in ours, because all these skills that we're developing, there's nuance that's missing because we're not adding our voices to it. And so we've got to go reclaim it. And it's connection, expression and connection that we need more of. Anyway, I love y'all so much, and I am so appreciative for you giving me a little bit of your time today. I will be back next morning at 8 a.m. Like I said earlier, I had to do it at a time that works for this work schedule I got. I'm doing a little bit of both. I'm a musician creative, but I'm also a business creative too, and a marketing creative now. And it's amazing how many transferable skills I have and learned in music that are also applicable in marketing. And I'm having so much fun, y'all. I'm having so much fun in that space. It's a beautiful space. And I also can't wait to share the side of marketing that every musician needs to know. I'm like, why aren't we learning all this stuff in school? I had another series, and y'all let me know if this would be helpful. The business of art, or the business of music, or the branding of music, or I think I said the business of art. I don't remember. But we as musicians and educators, we don't talk about business enough. And I think we need to. So anyway, let me know if that would be interesting to you, or if you'd be interested in learning anything about that. And I've had to learn fast. So I have a whole lot to share there. How to market yourself, all the things. Anyway, this is going to turn into another episode in a minute. I love y'all so much, and I'm so grateful that you gave me a little bit of your time. I pray nothing but blessings for your weekend and your next week. I hope that you are able to take something from today and this first episode of Genealogy of Your Voice, and I hope that it gives you the courage to add more of your voice and more of your noise in whatever space you're in. All right, have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye.